Hi everyone, welcome to episode 4 of Laurier Golden Talks, Work from Home. Kick it!
I wanna talk, I wanna be your friend. I get so nervous when I meet new people, but you don't mind cause you're a nice new friend. Let's go to school and just be friendly people. I just wanna sit and talk to you. Oh my, it's fun when we're together. Alright.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Laurier Golden Talks, first, best, and only podcast of the Laurier community. I am one of your hosts, Christine. Very happy to see all your lovely faces, if you're there, for another episode. And I'm going to pass it on to my colleagues to introduce themselves.
Hey everybody, I am Sharon, but I go by Yoko because there's two of us.
And that would be me. I'm the second Sharon, and it's great to have you all here.
My name is Sean. It isn't Sharon, so you can just call me Sean.
What's up, everybody? It's Craig, representing Captain Canada, Steve Nash, time NBA MVP. Good to see y'all.
So as some of you might be getting back into your high school studies, starting those classes up again, we thought it was a really cool time to talk about kind of something that we're doing, which is we are all working from home right now, similar to yourself. So that changes our work dynamic a little bit, but we're not going to talk about the jobs that we do right now as student life specialists, as outreach coordinators, as recruiters. We're going to talk about our jobs that we did while we were in university or our post-secondary experience, the fun part-time or full-time jobs that we worked while we were paying those bills, paying that tuition, getting that money, and graduating. So if anyone has a really fun story of the job that they'd like to tell, we're going to talk about first jobs, worst jobs, horror stories, good stories. So stay tuned.
Got a couple of horror stories in planning.
You looked
We
like
don't
you
want to
had
start
some.
with that though. We don't want to start with a horror story.
Okay, well, I'll go like ultra wholesome, happy story. So prior to becoming a Residence Life Dawn, which was my primary job when I was at university. So the way it worked at Residence Life Dawn is someone who helps with first year students, which is almost exclusively what Laurier has in residence, first year students, and assisting with their transition to university. So social programming, making sure that the building safety is a consideration, as well as what we would call small C counseling. So when people are struggling with something, we're just the first resource to get people pointed in the right direction. So I did that in my second, third, and fourth year, which meant that I didn't pay for housing at all while I was other than first year, because I lived in residence and it was for free. Now, when I say free, you got to remember too, though, that when you actually work out the like cost per hour in terms of what I got while I was working relative to it, it was a pretty reasonable bargain for the university, but honestly, it was such a fabulous experience. But prior to that, the only other job that I'd ever had was on my family's dairy farm. So I grew up in rural Ontario near Lake Erie, about an hour's drive from campus. And I lived on the family dairy farm. I started working on the probably when I was 7. And early on, I would get paid in like Dairy Queen blizzards, which was like a half an hour trip to go to the DQ. But as I got older, obviously, they paid me a reasonable wage. And I learned to drive when I was like 12 years old in farmers' fields, dropping off hay bales to cows. So I got lots of cow knowledge. And that was what I did. And that's what I did every summer as well. So a lot of people would stick around in Waterloo, find jobs, and it was a super social atmosphere. I wanted to be a part of that, but the thing that paid the bills was back home working on the farm with Dad. And it always worked out that like planting season would come right on the heels of final exams. So it was pretty good timing in terms of like transitioning from one right into the next.
That's like my
Craig.
dream.
What is the go-to blizzard order from Craig Chips himself? I'm a cookie dough kind of guy for sure.
Well, I think we need to realize that back in the day, because we were talking, like I was allowing people, my father, to pay me with Blizzards when I was very, very young. And at that point, like you maybe had 10 different like flavor combinations. Crispy Crunch is the answer to your question.
Wow, those don't even exist anymore.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
back then it was the
Yeah.
Crispy Crunch. Now, if I had to say it, I'm gonna go with peanut butter cup and cookie dough together, perhaps with a squirt of chocolate sauce.
Delightful.
Oh,
That's amazing.
wow.
Blizzard before. So I have a lot of Blizzard knowledge on account. One of my jobs was, in fact, at Dairy Queen. So this might be a pretty Dairy Queen centric episode. So I don't know what happened, but in second year, like I applied to 100 jobs and I couldn't get a single interview. And I was like, okay, not sure what's going on. So I ended up getting a job at Dairy Queen just because I was like trying to like work at businesses, trying to get like these really great like communication style jobs, and that just didn't work out for me. It might have been my level of experience, might have been I had a bad resume, I don't know. But I ended up at Dairy Queen. No harm, no foul. I'm actually repping some DQ right now.
What? Okay. I
And
wanna,
it's a peanut butter.
We all should have gotten DQ.
yes, we should.
Did you receive Dairy Queen as payment?
I also received Dairy Queen as payment. Weirdly enough, I'm not a huge like ice cream fan. So our discount was 50% off and I ate so many chicken nuggets that it was insane. I would leave every shift with a half off box of like chicken nuggets with their flamethrower sauce. If you don't know what that is, you need to get it. It's the best sauce made by any fast food company in the world. It's like spicy, so good, recommend. Dairy Queen. Wore a visor, served a Dairy Queen to Shawn Mendes. So that's my fun Dairy Queen story.
You did?
Yes.
My boy Sean.
Yeah, I gave Shawn, because I'm from Pickering originally, and Shawn Mendes is from Pickering, little hometown hero. And he came in when he was famous to our local Dairy Queen where I worked, and he's like, and I was like wearing a visor. I was like, hi, Shawn Mendes.
Oh,
He ordered an Oreo Blizzard.
No way. That is
That's-
so cool.
That's
Did you get
sweet.
Begs the, oh, hang on. Sean has a question. Then
Did you get to flip the Blizzard for him? The whole like,
Well, you are obligated as a Dairy Queen employee to
I know you are.
every time. So yeah, I did. I was like,
Can you imagine if you flipped the Blizzard and it went all over Shawn Mendes?
That's the story for the books.
Yeah, right there.
Not that
And-
this isn't, but
and I was
Yeah.
like, we're dating in my mind, but he's a little young for me.
Wow.
So I want to. I'm just curious your rating on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being completely natural, and 10 being the most awkward possible. Where would you put the interaction between you and Shawn Mendes? Either, and I mean, Meg, probably. I guess your perspective is really the only one you can speak to.
Yeah. So very nice guy. Very like, it was alarming. Like, you know, when he was like, I don't know if you've ever seen a celebrity in real life. Like, he's alarmingly handsome. So it was scary. And I'm like front till. And I cannot stress this enough. I was wearing a visor. So it wasn't a great interaction. I just was like, I had ice cream splattered all over my shirt. Like, it wasn't it wasn't awkward. I was very professional. I take my job at Dairy Queen very seriously. So it wasn't an awkward encounter, but I honestly just wanted it to be over because I was like, this gorgeous, beautiful celebrity is looking at me in a visor with ice cream all over me in men's work pants. So-
The gorgeous bit is something that's shared across all Sean's.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so moving on to visors. My job during school was between Tim Hortons. So I don't know, I beg to differ on the whole uniform because our Tim Hortons uniform was really, really scary. So giving my age away, do you guys remember like the coffee brown, like if you look in the back you could see the yes, right? So if you could see in the back of in my back there, that brown in that chair, that was the color of my uniform. It was.
Now, I'm not sure that our audience is going to remember this, but I certainly do. Did you have one of those weird bow tie things?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So thank you. I beat you on the whole uniform situation.
I don't remember that.
That's because this is Sharon and I are officially going down memory lane, and
Yes.
you behind. We'll stop now.
Yeah, exactly. And then my other job, which was I thought was like the cool job, was Toys R Us.
It's
Toys
cool.
R Us. Yeah, I loved working at Toys R Us. Still ugly uniform because it was orange and blue, but that was my favorite job.
Aw.
That's cute. Sean, I want to hear your horror story. You've
It's
kept
true.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
for
let's
so
go,
long.
Sean. You've been
I was
holding it.
trying to quick find a copy of the uniform for Tim Hortons, but that might have to be side tabled for a little bit. So my horror story from one job is not the same as my worst experience from a different job. The worst job that I worked was at an unnamed cheese factory from my hometown. And it was essentially doing the exact same thing for 8-hour shifts, but then they would just put you on whenever they needed people. So that could be midnight to 8 a.m. That could be 4 in the afternoon to midnight, or that could be like 8 to 4. So my entire summer was either me at a factory working or sleeping, more or less. And like when I dreamed of doing my job at the factory because I did it so much.
Oh.
It's horrible.
I made decent money.
Is that why you
That's
applied
it.
to co-op?
That's why the key influencing factor of me going to co-op was working at what we call cheese jail.
Cheese.
That's really
Whenever my mom likes to joke about me getting jobs in the future, she's like, well, you could always go back to cheese jail, and then laughs to herself. She's like, ha, 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 ha. It's like, okay, mom. The horror story was I worked in a lumber yard for like 4 years leading up to university. And typically, I'm a very safe person, not a like big risk taker. I didn't take a risk. This is a common everyday thing I was doing. But we have all of the lumber material in these like really big shelves. Piece of plywood in a shelf, you like grab it, slide it out, load it onto a forklift. Very common thing. Do it every single day. So one of the pieces of plywood had like a giant sliver in the side of it. So when I slid it out, it like caught in my pants. I have a photo actually.
Oh boy.
So like right through the side of my jeans, right into the other leg of my jeans. And I was about like that close from getting impaled thigh to thigh by a piece of plywood. And I just sat there, I was like, we're good.
Can I go home?
Yeah.
That's a disaster.
Oh, yeah.
So to clarify, no, like not even a glancing blow as it relates to your actual legs. You just ruined your work pants.
Ruined my jeans and that was it.
Wow.
Wow. So I
Yeah, lucky.
totally understand why you moved to, like, why you're doing co-op, Sean. Like, yeah.
Even cheese jail sounds better than that.
No, I actually liked working there decently.
Danger
Sometimes-
Sean.
Sometimes you get a giant sliver in your pants and you just roll with it.
Let the record show, I get a little sliver in my finger and I'm not about it. Like,
Yeah,
I
I'm
consider myself to be,
What?
you know, pretty endurance, pretty tough, but sliver in the finger, no.
That's
I
one thing
love
I got
taking slivers
very good at is slivers.
It's very satisfying.
I love it. Not getting a sliver, but I like taking slivers out.
I always offer.
Me too.
Yoko.
When do all these offers roll in? I don't understand that dynamic at all.
You know what? There are lots of people that get slivers doing everyday jobs. So I'm just,
Everyone's good. You can't, if you get a sliver in your finger, it's like hard to take it out yourself. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll do it.
All right. Well, Relatively, no one's ever paid you for that, Yoko. So what did they pay you for while you
So let
Just bringing
me
it back.
tell you. Let me tell you. I have a story. So I worked at a barn and I loved it. So I love the outdoors, the country life, being in the middle of nowhere. So I worked for this lady who literally had like 20 horses, 2 barns, and I was living like my best life. It was like I was jacked because horse poop is heavy. So I'm going cleaning out, like there was me and another guy. So I had the one barn, he had the other. So
Hang on, at first I thought you were like jacked excited about
No.
poop.
no, I was
Now I
like
understand that
jacked
you were
muscle.
fit because of the lifting. That makes
Yes.
sense.
Yes, the
I needed to-
wheelbarrows full
Yeah.
of poop were so heavy. And like I would have to go all the way to like the manure pile, like haul it up. It was actually, I didn't mind it. But one day, here we go. You'll notice the theme of my life is trying to survive and not die. So here we go. She did not train the horses very well to be weaned off their mums. So there were 2 mares and then their mums, and or 2, what were the baby horses called? Shoot.
Bolts?
Babies. Yeah.
Bulls.
Ponies.
Bulls.
There you go.
No,
And
pony's a different animal, Sean.
I know. I know.
they did have a pony, so cute. It's on my Instagram. Okay, look. So they were right beside each other in the fields, just grazing, whatever. So they were beside each other anyway. So we were short on people because usually you need them to go both at the same time because they'll start freaking out in panic when they don't see their mom and the moms with the sons. So what we do first, we're just like, here we go. So we take the 2, we take the babies, 1 each, and the babies were like, okay, leading them away into the barn. That was fine. It was when we got the moms in, it was a disaster. They started freaking out and bucking and like kicking, and I managed to like hold on to mine, but the guy who was helping me let go of his horse, and this horse is now running around and attacking and like almost like hit me, number 1. And so here I am with this horse, like trying to control it as it's rearing. And I'm just like, oh, this is the end of me. And so then I managed to get it into the barn, and then the other horse, I had no idea where this horse was at this point. This other horse like runs and attacks into the barn, and I'm like right here. And I just in time noticed him coming in, moved over. So he just like ran into his stall. Anyways, that was the time I almost got trampled by 2 horses.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where was this little barn?
This little barn was like 15 minutes from my house. It's
Oh,
like,
okay. Okay.
I love
it's like
that
this
one of-
family-owned one.
I love that one of Yoko's highlight jobs, the first thing she talked about was cleaning the horse stable.
I worked
It
at a barn.
was fun. I did enjoy it.
Yeah, that was the highlight, and then it got worse from there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I almost and I got a horse stepped on my toe. Those things are heavy. The guy that I worked with actually got kicked in the gut by a horse, and it missed me and it hit him.
Well, it sounds like he deserved it from letting go of that horse.
You know what? I was like,
That's
you
called
literally
karma.
almost killed me, buddy. Like, hold on to your horse.
Hold your horses.
Horses.
So in general, I'd have to say that this episode has had more livestock and dairy than I was expecting.
Yes.
I also worked at the Toronto Zoo, so that's
Oh,
so much livestock.
Oh, hey.
getting exotic now too. Sean, why don't you tell the people a little bit about the sort of other way that you paid the bills relative to your co-op experiences, which were paid, but definitely tied with Laurier life.
Yeah, so I had 3 co-op experiences. I'll maybe gloss over the third one just because it is for the university. I was working in outreach, which Sharon L is actually in right now. So
And it was awesome.
holds a place in my heart. It was spectacular. But my other 2 placements were, my first placement was at BlackBerry in Waterloo there, and then my second one was at Sun Life Financial. And honestly, less fun stories, more like relevant work experience-y type stuff. I was working as an IT project manager. So a lot of that was working with various different IT structures within internal systems and working with different team members to kind of complete projects, and those were both great. It's kind of a big shift going from local lumber yard to multinational corporation. Like I walked into BlackBerry the first day and they had like key entry to like doors that like were shut, and then they go when you swipe in. It's like one person at a time. Everyone on the call has been in the AC and knows that those things are pretty like standard.
Yeah.
But for me, a young Sean Schultz was astounded at the security measures of BlackBerry, and I actually got to go through, and the people I worked with at the time were really cool, and we were good friends. They took me through like a tour of the like old RNA or the research and development labs, and like there's a lot of cool stuff there. They put me in this big chamber that basically it's designed to prevent cell phone waves from escaping the like chamber, but it also doubled as a noiseless room. And that's the day that I realized I have tinnitus.
Speaking
So-
of phones.
Yeah, so there's some really good experiences, and I really loved my co-op jobs. It obviously led me here.
Well, that's the thing I think is kind of fun about jobs, like during your high school like time or your university time. It doesn't really matter what you're doing, whether it's wearing a cute little bow tie at Tim Hortons or holding down a horse or working at your, family's dairy farm. It's all work experience. It's all really relevant work experience. And you're taking those skills and applying them to your co-ops at BlackBerry and now for all of us, like our professional working jobs. So it's like, I didn't think that the skills of cleaning toilets at the Toronto Zoo would teach me all these really great lessons and experiences, but that's what it's all about. So there's no such thing as a bad job.
And such a big piece, especially with co-op students, because I think people might be a little interested in that, is they're obviously recognizing that people are students when they're applying through co-op. So a lot of those technical work pieces, they don't necessarily expect you to have, and what they're looking for is built through those kind of part-time jobs. So the communication skills, the teamwork skills, all that kind of stuff, and you develop that in your part-time jobs before you even start university, and they're really good at realizing that too. So
that's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
that was fun. I didn't know that much about you all, so it was fun to like learn a little bit about our backgrounds and what we all did to pay the bills and get that work experience. Gotta get that money.
So true.
It was fun.
it sounds like I'm picking up a side gig at Dairy Queen to get 50% off after this.
Not a bad
Really
idea.
worth it. I'm not gonna lie. I don't still get it, but I still have.
We are not affiliated with Dairy Queen, by the
We
way.
are not.
For
This is
anyone
not
that
a
has made it this
sponsorship.
far.
This is not a hashtag ad. We all just very much enjoy the fine quality products of
But we will accept free things.
Dairy Queen. If you are watching, your chicken strips are astounding, and I would accept more.
And I love ice cream.
And ice cream. All right. Well, that's all for us today. Thanks so much for tuning in again. We post our recordings of our podcast on our website Tuesdays and Thursdays, so you can check it out at wlu.ca/Laurier at home. If you want to inform what we talk about, you can hit us up at recruiters@wlu.ca. That's our little email. So if you have an idea or something you really want us to talk about, feel free to email us through that and we'll take those suggestions. But we are really excited to keep connecting with you guys like this. So we hope to see you again next week. Kick it!
I get so nervous when I meet new people, but you don't mind cause you're a nice new friend. Let's go to school and just be friendly people. I just want fun when we're together.
Bye, friends.
Everyone.